What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer and this is the VFC Knights Armament L403A1 GBBR, also known as the KS1 full review. Now as always, let's stick the usual disclosures on screen and well, as it's been a while, let's jump right in. Okay guys, I do want to take a minute to thank each and every single one of you who sent kind messages of support. While undergoing treatment and procedures to recover from the stroke, it wasn't a fun or pleasant time. Some days were really hard, and it was reading your messages that got me through this hard time. So a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here now doing this, and I appreciate every single one of you. So thank you very much. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's jump in and answer the first question. What is the L403A1? Well, to do that, we need to go back to Project Hunter T&E trials. You see, back in 2020, the UK Armed Forces finally admitted the SA-80 is done for and gave it its marching orders for 2030. Now, starting with the Special Forces, they wanted a supplementary weapon as they retire the SA-80 from service slowly but surely. They needed something to fill that gap for now while they choose a more permanent option. But to be honest, in SF, this is the right choice right here on the table. I don't think they're going to spend hundreds of millions like they are now on this and then do it again for a more permanent option. I think this will become the normal. That's just my only opinion though. Now, Project Hunter had many companies from HK, FN, Beretta, Sig Sauer, you name it, pretty much anyone who's important in the game had a awesome rifle for them to test out. But the problem was a lot of them were either prototypes or pre-production models that weren't finalized yet and had their own issues. And so, sadly, they were not adopted. Now, when it comes down to the runner-up, that was Sig Sauer. And what they did was basically provide a Spear LT that we know, but imagine the Surge Kit, handguard, and suppressor instead. And you get a Spear LT upper and lower assembly. You see, the Surge Kit used an AR-15 lower and a SIG upper, etc. Well, now you're going to a full Spear LT upper and lower and a Surge handguard as well as a suppressor. It was a unique looking weapon that looked kind of cool. But again, the British Armed Forces looked at it and probably thought, and this is going to be subjective to personal opinion, but if you were a company like the British Armed Forces, you've already wasted over 30 years of your life with the SA-80 trying to make that work, and that was a unique, amazing, futuristic design at the time. Well, they didn't really want to do that again. And of course, over the last 10 years, Sig Sauer have been going through the meat grinder when it comes to reputation, whether it's the P320 or even as recent as now with the XM7 being pulled from individual trials and is now basically allegedly getting an A1 updated version. So whether they actually adopt that thing or not, I don't really think they will. And I think the British Armed Forces kind of knew that going into this. So it would come down to the Knights Armament offering and their KS1 that would win the trials. Also the fact that Knights Armament were willing to make changes to the KS1 to make it specific and proprietary to the British Armed Forces. So there you go. All right. So we now know that the KS1 won. What about the Airsoft edition? Well, when it comes down to the Airsoft edition, there is only a handful of options available. You have the Angry Gun kit. I believe How Industries have done a kit, but both those kits are going to cost you well over $2,000 to set up into this configuration you see here on the table. And I'm sorry, but that is not worth the money for that. Not in Airsoft. Now, when it comes down to fully built, there was only one other option that I know of, and that is the WellPro version of the KS1 and KS3 that they've done. Now, again, I like WellPro. I love their AKs, given that it is a almost identical clone to the Marui AK platform that they based it on. But in this case, they're using VFC magazines, a TDC hop that they call is their own, but it's kind of based off other people's designs. It was a bit questionable. And of course, at the time they released that, there was other amazing GBBRs that I wanted first, so I never went for it. And now, thankfully, earlier this year, VFC announced that they were doing theirs, and it would use a brand new system inside it, their Evo GBBR system. Or let's call it for what it really is, the V4. And so, I pre-ordered that version. Here it is on the table. So, let's get into it. Let's start at that rear and work our way forward. Okay guys, so starting at the rear, for those of you who have watched the unboxing video will know that this is not the supplied stock that comes with this GBBR. Instead, you get this. This is the compact version of the SOCMOD B5 in FDE. You have a very thick rubberized butt pad that is replaceable by just popping the 2 clips here and it will come off. You do have QD sockets here on the left and on the right. It does have traditional sling loops and it's easy to adjust just by here. And because it is their compact edition, you will notice that this is more narrow and not the big chunky size that you have with the older ones. But importantly, this is not the supplied stock for the British Armed Forces, or the chosen stock that they use. They use this, the CTR. Now, this is a Magpul stock. We've seen it many times. It comes with a replaceable butt pad as well, but unlike the SOCMOD, it uses 2 hex key screws that hold on this nice replaceable butt pad here at the back, or you can buy bigger and chunkier ones should you need. It also comes with traditional sling loops here and here, QD sockets on the left and the right, and of course you see these holes here and there for an actual cheat riser should you wish to use one, which is sold separately. Now of course there is a little lanyard loop here if you wish to put any lanyards on this, not that you would. Now the main feature of this is the retention bit here. Click that in and it locks it in place, which is quite cool. As a stock, I understand why the British Armed Forces use it, and so that is awesome. Now, moving on to the more important bit is what this is mounted to, the buffer tube. Now, I do want to state off the bat that when it comes to GBBRs, they do like to claim mil-spec, and if you own a real steel rifle, you'll know that mil-spec is all over the place. Stocks themselves use different dimensions to whatever mil-spec that they want to declare it as mil-spec, and so therefore you might find that some genuine stocks like this actual CTR stock might be a little bit loose on there. If that's the case, you will need to just shim it. It's really easy. You can just use a little bit of tape hidden inside and it shims it quite nicely. Now, when it comes to this buffer tube, it is special in multiple ways. For one, it is a nice color of gray, unlike the usual one that is a more darker gunmetal or black. And this actually has a unique feature right about here. So where we see here those retention holes, the final 3 holes here are drilled in. Okay, so yes, you will have the ability to retention your stock on them, but they have a little hole drilled into each one, and that is what they call compression holes. At the back of the stock, generally there is one single hole in the center. I will show you the holes when we take this apart later in the video, but when you look at it like that, you will find that that one hole, generally as the buffer goes back, it compresses the gas or the air that is built up inside and squirts it out the rear. Of course, that is normally fine, and real steel have this problem as well, so don't think it's an airsoft thing only. So normally that would be good, but it gives you a slow rate of fire. You will hear it chug and stutter. That's something that the V3 system suffered quite a lot. So in order to repair that, they added 3 extra holes at the bottom to allow even more air to escape. Okay, so apart from those holes and the new color, they also added a special little marking here, this nice commando knife. This is to honor the people that actually use this in the real steel world, and that is the special forces groups here in the UK. So that's nice that they put that little homage to them. I really do appreciate that, and I do believe that the British Armed Forces do actually appreciate that little nod for them. The buffer tube itself is mounted to the receiver thanks to a standard AR-15 castle nut, and you do actually have this awesome QD socket. So you can either put in your QD here on the left, in the center you have a hole here, and there is one on the right side. So you have left, right and center, which is really good and basically allows a full ambidextrous design. And I do want to point that out right away. This is a full ambi GBBR, and that is amazing. Now, moving on up, we get to the receiver itself. So first of all, I am going to just drop that mag so we can manipulate this a little bit better. Now, the receiver itself is coated in a awesome FDE with a signature reducing coating. It's designed to block the IR from picking this up, or at least reduce it so that it's hard to find, you know, by the enemy, which is really important. So you have this cool FDE look. Now at the top you do have a flip up iron sights. The Knights Armament style is adjustable for windage and your range, and there is a matching one at the front which we'll get to in a moment. I'm not sure if I can show it, but if I can get it there, you can just barely make it, just like the SR16 that this is all based off of. They used the Knights Armament logo there engraved into the upper receiver, which is really, really nice. Now, below that is the charging handle. It is ambidextrous for both hands, so whichever one you use, you can easily charge this if you're a lefty or a righty. Now, moving down, we get to the grip. Now, this grip that is supplied from VFC is the exact same grip that's on the Maxim Defense MD9, but in FDE instead of black. And it is an amazing grip. This is one of the best grips straight out of the box that I've had for a long time. The only one close is the H&K for me. This is really good. Now, of course, it's an FDE, and that is absolutely amazing. Okay, moving on from the grip, we get to the trigger guard itself. As you can see, if I pull it up close, you'll notice it is a multi-part. There's a reason for that. It is nice and enlarged. If you get hold of the civilian version coming soon, this will all be one solid milled in piece, according to Knights Armament. But for the British Armed Forces, because they want a winter trigger, and by which it doesn't mean like us in Airsoft that use armoured gloves, fingered gloves to be precise, that allow you easy access to the actual trigger itself with a finger glove. The UK Special Forces basically operate in some really, really cold places. And so you can't just use finger gloves. You see, the blood won't circulate correctly through each finger and keep yourself warm, and you will get frostbite. So what the British Armed Forces do is use a mitten, or they will have the finger gloves with a mitten part here that they can pull over, but then they would have just one piece like that, and you couldn't operate the trigger like that, could you? So what they do is they put the tip of a bullet, I've got a punch here, but you would push that in, lift that up slightly a little bit, and we can take that off. Now with that removed, you can use your mitten fingers and access it and still shoot in extremely cold climates. Now, speaking of the trigger, this is a V3 fire control group inside, although I do feel that they've done some working on this. Now, the normal V3 trigger group comes in around about 5 to 5.5 pounds of pull. This, on the other hand, feels more like a 4 to 4.5 pounds. So it looks like they've actually done some polishing. What do I mean by that? Well, if you take it like this, you have 1, 2, there's the break with 1 and around about 2 extras. So your reset is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's another 0.5 to 5 millimeters tops of travel. It's an awesome trigger, but very, very light in that respect compared to a standard V3. Nice. Now, when it comes to the selector though, you can see here, this is a nice elongated left side. It is matched on both sides perfectly, but the right side does have a scalloped. We'll show you that when we get round to that side of the rifle. So if I point here, one of the cool features of this is they've actually worked on it. If you remember my V3 HK416 video, and if you look at the BCM, it was very mushy and was easy to bump out. But for this, they look like they've finally fixed that issue with a more positive, very tactile selector, which can't be easily bumped, which is awesome. Now, moving on to the next point, you have your bolt hold open / release. And if you look, you have this amazingly aggressive texturing on both, so it's easy to find your hold open side by just pulling this to rear, pushing down, letting go, and you have your nice big paddle there, which you can easily drop the bolt. Unlike the SR16 though, this has a true matching bolt hold open and release. So instead of just being a bolt release on the right side, it now has a perfect clone of this, which is 90 degrees up, more in line with LMT stuff, and that is really, really cool. Now, when you come to your mag release, again, they've copied the aggressive texturing of the paddle there and given you a nice small button that's very well protected here to release your magazine, which is awesome. Speaking of the magwell, it has been reprofiled for the KS1 to be more compatible with all magazines, and I can confirm this will shoot any of your V1, 2 or 3 magazines from VFC, whatever style you have, whether it's Stanag, HK or even the PMags. And speaking of which, let's just put this aside and let's take a look at the magazine. Okay, so when it comes to the magazine, this is the magazine that's supplied, and to be honest with you, you'll recognize it as a V3 PMag because it generally is a V3 PMag, but in FDE, and it's the first time it's ever been done in this color officially from VFC. So here is the older version right here. They are identical, have the exact same tanks in the side and everything, all the same controls, same buttons, are fully interchangeable between the two. Now that's awesome. It means that when you've got a new magazine like the V3, it's still recent enough that they didn't need to change the magazine. It works. It is probably one of the best magazines on the market. I do like their PMags. It's really good. They do hold 35 rounds, and you will get around 3 full mags of BBs on 1 charge of gas. When it comes to the weight, on the other hand, if I grab my scales here, we can bring that up, hit the power on them. We'll zero it. So this is full of gas, and it comes in at 366.19, which is quite decent. You do have your catch point right here, which is nice and full metal, and it is mirrored on both. You can see them there. I do like this. I think this is really cool. I think these magazines are just really reliable and consistent. I do like the way that they shoot. Now, magazine aside, I can show you all the markings, the VMag, and you've got that there, which is awesome. It's funny how it says 30, but it holds 35. It's ridiculous. But you do have your 5.56 by 45 on the top and all your other little official markings there, which are nice. And of course, law enforcement only, etc. Although it says VMag, not PMag. But hey, the magazines though, really good. Can't fault them. They're easy enough to load compared to other brands out there. Now, let's bring the GBBR back, and as you can see here with the markings, you have the serial number right here, your Knights Armament logo, and the Stoner Rifle 5.56 KS1, because this is based off of the KS1. Now, when it comes to rail space, there is a single rail going across the top. It does have an interrupted step right here where the handguard locks in place. That's just part of the AR problem and its design. But let's talk about the handguard now. When it comes to the handguard, you can see the markings there, knightarmco.com, and you've got a lovely RX6 handguard. Now, the problem with this handguard, for a few people, specifically on the SR16, is the older one used to be held by a tiny grub screw going into the barrel nut. And that was it. If you were aggressive with this rifle, banging it into things, dropping it or whatever, you could snap that grub screw and then your whole rifle is screwed at that point for your handguard point of view. And that wasn't good. And of course they cried for a more realistic thing. And so, as they cried for a more realistic handguard, more accurate to the real steel, VFC said, okay, this GBBR doesn't use a guide hop system like they used to use on the SR16, where you'd put an Allen key at the front into the gas block and adjust it very easily. They've now changed that. We'll get into how they did that as we disassemble it, but right now they basically made this more realistic. And so, as you can see here at the front, let's see if we can get that in shot for you, but there is a special mini nut there at the front holding the gas block on, and you have your standard barrel nut. But because there is no grub screw, how the hell do you get this handguard off? Quite simply, you need a proprietary tool. What tool? That tool. This is the officially produced VFC, as you can tell here by the logo, handguard removal tool. You have your first a little bit here, which is for your gas block with your actual bar to turn it. So you'd put this in through the front, take your gas block off, and then you have your actual handguard barrel nut removal tool right here that keyed in, that goes over the outer barrel and locks into the actual barrel nut there. This itself is about £60 with shipping. Could be a little bit more or less depending on what retailer you go to. Just want to put that out there. You are going to need this if you want to remove the handguard on outer barrel and all that. But you're not going to need it if you just want to swap the inner barrel. I will get to that again as we do the internals. So just want to FYI. Now, again, if I pull this up, you'll see internally it is a single piece aluminium outer barrel that is heavy profile and has been dimple cut. Okay, in the real steel, that is basically to reduce the weight of the heavy barrel, but also allow extra surface area for cooling. So that's really good for sustained fire. I myself have added a QD sling point right here, very similar to the correct one on there, as close as I can get. And I've got a hand stop here because I see clamp this being a narrow handguard. It's awesome. It is M-lock on the 3, 6, 9, 10, 2, 5 and 7 o'clock positions. So that's awesome. You've got enough space to put whatever attachments and so on you wish. At the front, like I say, you do actually have your flip up front sight, which is quite nice. And it is adjustable for your elevation right there at the front. You can remove them, simple flathead screwdriver, and this is easily popped off, should you wish to put something else. Now, the real steel uses a very special laser aiming module device on this, and sadly, that is exclusive to the UK Armed Forces and other military forces out there. It's not available on the civilian market, so I couldn't get a clone for this build, which is fine. Now, we're going to move up to the muzzle device. Okay, so first off, this is the actual muzzle device that they provide out of the box. Now, it's an awesome muzzle device. It is full steel, and that's really good. But it's got an issue. If you try putting an actual muzzle device on this, the correct signature reducing muzzle device, even though this will fit into it, I have mine here, it will fit, it will ratchet. The problem is it doesn't have a retention. There is just a non-threaded hole right here that has been drilled into it, which is designed to be tapped, and then you can attach it to the GBBR and stop it from rotating. That is important. If you watched the actual premiere video, their launch party video, you will see that even VFC themselves and many of the people there testing it couldn't get the actual signature reducing muzzle device to fit to this due to the fact that this would just unscrew and it would literally fall off several times. So basically, if you do buy this, this is good to leave on if you're not going to run anything, but as you are going to run your own tracer units and suppressors of your own, it's best to get your own. I myself went with the Angry Gun one because as I'm recording this video, the VFC signature reducing device, which is just a dummy and doesn't do anything, basically is not been released, and so we're still waiting for that. Now, I went and got the Angry Gun one, and mine is the tracer version of it. So I don't know if I can pull this in here. There will be a little button in there. Let's get my little thing. Let's see if we can turn it on. There we go. And if I pull this to the camera here, I don't know if it will show you one thingy, but boom, boom. You can see there nicely that this is flashing. It's really nice. And it just gives that extra realism and allows me to see my BBs as I'm shooting in the dark or in low light environments to know that it has been hit. Now, this is a multi-part. You can pop these two little holes together with a pair of needle nose pliers. That pulls off the locking ring and you can actually access the mock, suppressor inside, and that'll allow you to remove the tracer or charge it should you wish to do so. It is fully trademarked as well with all the correct Knights Armament markings and serial numbers, and you also have them on the outside right here, which is really good. Now this whole shroud again is to block the IR detection and the actual signature of the flash. It reduces it. It's not going to do much for the sound, sadly. That's just, I mean, come on guys, the size of it is tiny. But if you're like me and
want the complete package, this is absolutely awesome. Now, this is the muzzle device that Angry Gun give you, and they did put a small little grub screw in there to tighten it down to stop it from spinning, because you don't want that. To put this back on, and it will always go back to the same. It's just slide on and then turn. And away you go. It's in, it's at the same point all the time. It's really good how they've done it. Now, like I say, this doesn't have a guide hop, so there's no need to show you that. So instead, let's take a look at the mirrored side. It is beautiful. That inner barrel looks mean inside, and there is a gas block in there with a gas tube going through. I'm not sure I can get that in. We can just see the silver tube there. That's awesome. But yeah, this is beautiful. You do have your markings there, the URX6, and you do have your unique number there, as well as the M-Lock logo. Now, when it comes down to it, if you own any Knights Armament SR16 handguards, it should fit on here, especially if they're genuine. If they're not genuine, well, you'd have to swap the barrel nut and put that one with the screw on and all that stuff. But generally, this will fit real steel. That's really good. I do like the level of authenticity in that department. Now, moving on to the low receiver, you have the SR16, because as I say, the KS1, if you want to know what the difference between a KS1 and an SR16 is, the best way of looking at it is one is a BMW from 10 years ago, and the other one is a up-to-date, cutting-edge version of it. If you remember that, well, you'll understand the differences. So you still have the SR16 right there, Knights Armament address, which is awesome. And of course, we do have an FDE dust cover there, which I've left my protector on because I do like this rifle. I want to keep it nice, but you can easily pull. You'll see your bolt carrier, and I'll go into the bolt carrier when we take this apart because this is also new. But that is awesome. You do actually have right here, as you can see, I'm moving it with the other hand, a fully able to hold open now on this side instead of having the 90-degree horizontal release. It's now hold open and release. It features the exact same aggressive serrations, so you can easily manipulate it very easy. And as it comes to the selector lever, you can see where they've cut out the long lever for the right side of the receiver. So when you are using this, your actual knuckle on your right hand doesn't accidentally bump it forward as you get a high grip purchase on this. So that's really good. You do have your Mach forward assist. You can see your ambi QD point here on the side. Absolutely amazing. So now that we've gone over the overview, let's take it out to the range and let's see what she can do. Okay, I'm using 0.25 gram BBs and green gas on the Knights Armament L403A1. Okay, so that's not bad. Let's get the full figures. Right, first shot was 317.7, followed by 317.6, 310, 3.6, and that is really, really good. I'm really, really impressed. Okay, let's step it back to 15 meters and let's see what she can do grouping wise. Okay, once I knew my hold, that's not actually bad. That's okay. Okay, now it's the turn of the Dexter Star. Let's see how good it really is.
okay. Not bad. I rushed it at the last shot. But hey, we're getting back into the swing of it. Okay, so back from the range. OMG is what I'm going to say right now. Look at this grouping. This is really, really good. Just for clarity, we'll put it at the center of each of the holes, and it's a sub 2-inch grouping there, sub 2-inch grouping here, sub 2-inch grouping here. No matter which way you look at it, you're looking at a sub 2-inch out of the box performance with stock, inner barrel and bucking and that is absolutely phenomenal. I'm really impressed with that. I think that's really good. I'm sure you could get that a tighter grouping if you swap the bucking to a Magnus Pro, for instance, or Friction Pro, should I say. That might do it, but again, it's going to be, your mileage may vary, and well, like I say, you have to pick what's best for you. Out the box, this is phenomenal. I don't really think you're going to need it, especially if you're using .25s. And as we saw, the first two shots around the 317, a little bit high, but as we saw with the second, third, and fourth, the shots came down. It's well within tolerable reasons and will work with most CQB sights. So that's really good. It means I didn't have to go out and buy an N pass. Yay! Shame that I already did, but whatever. So that is amazing. Okay, so now it's time to take a good look at its internals. Let's see how they did this, because as I said in the intro, this is using VFC's brand new Evo system, or what VFC call Evo system, but we all kind of know it's their new V4. What did they do? Well, let's take a look. So as I promised, when it comes to the buffer tube, I said I would show you, and right there are 3 drilled holes, and you also have 1 here at the back. Now normally they come with just 1, or if you buy a really good clone accurate, you'll have 3 extra holes there at the rear for the 416, but I digress. Now, with this, you have those. Now, why is that? Well, as this buffer, which is like a piston head, is going down there, it's pushing the air and compressing it. And that's what leads to either short stroking or lethargic, intermittent, like cycling speeds. You'll hear it if you listen to it on a full auto. It will either go consistent for a minute, then stutter, and then go back, and that's just not great. So VFC drilled these holes to release a lot more of the gas to allow a more consistent stroke. That is awesome. Now, of course, we need to take a look at the internals, and we do have our, I would say, proprietary for the KS1 on the actual bolt hold up and slash release levers. They are designed for that, not for the previous, I would say, AR-15, so bear that in mind. But the hammer and all the rest of the important stuff is their Gen 3. And of course, it is a steel hammer, steel auto sear, steel takedown pins, which are nice in FDE, a steel buffer retention pin. You have steel screws holding this on, and it is a steel fire selector, which is really good, and that is on both sides, so that's awesome. Steel pins, as we know, steel trigger, again, and the disconnector for the hammer is steel. We hit that. We have a steel firing pin, steel actuation arm for the bolt stop, and the bolt stop parts are steel, 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 steel. We might as well just say the entire fire control group is steel, which is absolutely amazing. Like I say, this is an awesome lower. I really do appreciate what they've done. It is a what we call CNC finish still. And we'll get into why that can be a plus or a minus to you depending on what you do. We'll get to that in a moment. But this is absolutely fantastic. So let's get this out the way. Okay, so moving on, we have our buffer here. Now, if you've owned a V2 or a V3, you'll recognize this as their heavy anti-bolt bounce thanks to this moving weight in there buffer. It's never changed, and they're not going to change it anytime soon, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It comes with their version of a heavy spring, and that's about it. It's a decent, I would say, buffer. You hear the nice twang when it's shooting, but all in all, it does the job, so they never needed to change it. Just like they didn't change the fire control group or the magazine, they didn't change the buffer. But that's where it's going to change. Apart from the buffer tube being changed, which is awesome, and the charging handle being a ambidextrous one now, a real nice charging handle. Now we start with the change of the bolt carrier. Okay, so there's no getting around it.
VFC did take inspiration from GHK in a lot of things. For one, this is a full steel bolt carrier, whether it's the gas key or the body itself, regardless of where you look. This is a steel bolt carrier. But they did take some inspiration. For one, if you look here, it is threaded at the rear. Now, why is it threaded? Well, officially, VFC haven't really stated why. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that the competition use that for adding heavier weights for a heavier recoil, or if you're using CO2, you can add the heavy weight, heavy spring, and run CO2. That's a cool idea from GHK, and it looks like VFC have copied that, but as of recording this video, they have not released or announced any of the heavy weights for it, but it's there for when they eventually do, and I'm pretty sure they will. There is still the steel insert piece right there. It's hardened steel for where the bolt catches, and when it comes to the nozzle itself, it really is just the new V3 nozzle in there, but they've made a change. You see, this is awesome, and everything looks really good, but you will find here at the back, they've gone back in time. You see, VFC with the V2 used an E-clip here on the rear. Then with the more recent ones, they started to use a crosshead screw, which would go in the back, especially if you're using the APFG spear line or the rattlers and all that. And to be honest with you, that was bad because that screw would back out and the whole thing would be broken. You'd be forever repairing it and trying to thread lock it. And trust me, it was a nightmare to get it aligned and stay in place. So going back to the E-clip is a really good idea. But also, as you could see there a minute ago, they've changed the actual cam pin design here. So rather than have this whole unit as one big solid unit, they're now making this a separate piece, and is the nozzle retention bit. So as it goes forward, it locks onto the cam pin here. But when you disassemble it, you pop this pin. That will allow you to freely move this to the middle, and you can then tilt this out the way and remove this cam pin, which is a steel piece. Okay, that is really, really cool. I like how that works, and it basically gives it a more realistic feel. But like I say, outside of that, this is a V3 nozzle, and they're the main changes to the bolt carrier. Also, while talking about the BCG, you will notice right where the gas holes are on the real one, right here and right here. Well, if I pull that up, you will see that these also have a functioning hole. I don't know if I can get that on camera, but you can just see the O-ring there. And the way this is designed is quite simple. As this goes forward and all the way extended and goes for cycling, those holes there again are for relief of extra gas. It just allows them to bleed out. If you watch this shooting, you will see the gas coming out the side sometimes. That's actually normal for this. It's not just that you've overfilled the mags, but they will get a little bit of spray, especially as it gets, colder and, well, you're shooting it more often. And that's good because it allows for a consistent cycling of everything. So not only does the buffer get that, but so does the bolt carrier as well. Okay, well, apart from the awesome gas and all the other updates, how heavy does this bolt carrier actually weigh? Well, if we center U, zero it, we can put all the weight on. You're looking at 250 grams for the bolt carrier, which is not bad for a piece of steel. It's one of the reasons why this has a nice kick to it. But add to that, though, the other reciprocate mass, and that's the buffer itself. And that brings a total mass of 342.36 grams in reciprocation. All right. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk to the next upgrade they did. So looking at the upper receiver, this is, again, like I say, a CNC finished receiver. It's really done well. The coating is really nice and thick, a little thick in some parts, but generally a really good coating. And as I said, taking the handguard off, you can see there is no more grub screw. It's a special way of holding the handguard on. Okay, so having all that put in here was really good, and you have this lovely single piece outer barrel. It's nice thick, but it is aluminium. It's not steel. Barrel nut steel. The bracket here is steel, but all this inside here is basically aluminium all the way. There is no steel at the front. Okay, so if I pull that in for you, you can see there's no more steel. Now, what does that mean? Well, yes, it's good. It's a single piece, and yes, that makes it more durable. But because it's aluminium, if you are going to torque down like the original flash hider that came with it, as you torque it down, because it's aluminium, you can easily bend it and misalign it. I highly advise that you don't. Just get a better muzzle device for it. It's that simple. You can see the threads where the gas block is held on. The gas block would go in as such. While I trash this thing. And it would basically line up with the little hole there. That goes in. It is locked in place. There's anti-rotational from a little cam pin at the front. And then this would lock on like that. Okay, this main retention nut goes here to lock the handguard. So like I say, you do need those tools if you want to get to this point and, how would you say, disassemble it. But unlike more traditional GBBRs where you would do this and then take the barrel nut off and remove the inner barrel and everything else, this features something more special. Okay, so flipping it upside down, you will notice two little grub screws here. They are tiny, they're not very big, but they go in and screw into the hop chamber itself right here. They're what hold the hop chamber from coming backwards all the way out, but also hold it in place. Now, how reliable that's going to be, I don't know. We're going to have to wait until many, many months from now when this has gone through many, many, many more thousands of rounds to get an actual idea and also see what other people suffer. Now, here's the thing. As I said, there is no guide hop. So how do you adjust the hop on this thing? Well, this is the crux that got me a little bit annoyed, I think, and I will go on a rant of it later on, but basically to adjust the hop, you have to do one of two ways. Out of the box, they do not provide you with the tool. That is sold separately, and that is this tool. Designed so that basically you would have this fully assembled, the entire GBBR would be assembled, and you would basically lock the bolt to the rear, you would insert your special tool, it would eventually find its home and lock in to a special hole here, which is fine. And then when that is then in said hole and locked in, you can then adjust the hop with this button, or this knob here. Have you been watching this channel for any amount of time, you will also know that this is not an original design by VFC, because their competition, GHK, did just that. But GHK did put it in the box. You see, VFC charge you £30 for this with shipping, and that's the cheapest I've been able to find it. But in reality, you are looking a lot more than that by the time you do get one from abroad. And that's ridiculous. So most people are not going to have this out the box, and then you are going to have to disassemble the rifle, clamshell it open, take out the bolt carrier, and insert a 2mm Allen key. I don't know if I can get that in camera frame for you, but if I can zoom in, just where the feed lips are there for the feed ramp, there is a little hole in there that allows you, I don't know if I can, like say, there's your feed ramp, but just in there is a 2mm hex key that basically pushes a grub screw forward and back. And they copied the GHK way. The only difference between the two is that this one uses a steel parts unit for the hop unit, whereas GHK decided to use a aluminium chamber base but a polymer hop chamber inside. And believe it or not, neither one of these have failed in its hop since I've shot, and I've shot the GHK way more than this, and I've never had to change the hop since day one. But they do provide you with a tool free in the box for that. And they don't just provide that tool as well. They do provide a heavy recoil kit so that you can run CO2 mags or have a heavier kick in a nice hot climate days like summertime and that. So again, it's going to be a case of which one you prefer or which idea you prefer there. We'll get into that as we do final thoughts. So now we've gotten to the end of this, let's put all this back together, and while I do that, you guys get to see this shooting.
What we got, Will?
There was one down by.
Hey, Kev.
Dark in here today.
Number 6, Kev.
Down that.
Hey. Move. Right. As these scores looking. Right. So now,
One's blue room. And blue room.
I'm watching Ned.
You're right, Andy. Excuse me.
Get wrong position though. I'm not sure.
One on your right.
Move, Joe. Stands there. I'm safe.
Copy.
You've got long range.
Because I've got long range.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, sorry. Oh, is it friendly? Oh, Josh, it's friendly. So sorry, mate.
What is it, mate?
Oh, I didn't really see you. I'm so sorry, mate. I just got water and then followed up with fucking shooting.
My feelings.
Sorry, lad.
I'm coming up.
I'm going to watch Sniper if you come out.
Chris was down here. Tom, right.
Tom, I'm covering Sniper. Yep. Watch that window on the side there as well, because that's where I'm going to get the shot first.
Yep.
Contact on Sniper. Oh. Yeah. Yep. Safe.
You'll get used to it.
Tom's still there. Right, copy. At the end.
I think so, right side.
Yeah, he's shooting from like that. Hit! Good.
Come on, I got you there.
Now we're warming up.
Let's fucking go. Triple kill. No, 4 kills. Oh, 5th kill. Let's go. Hello.
Mag. Last mag.
Making them count.
25 minutes. I love my new gear. Oh.
You should have died then, but I heard a man running down there. Yeah, someone's reloading down there. No! Do it!
See the fake there.
Everyone up today, holy shit.
2 minutes. 2 minutes remaining. 2 minutes.
It's all right.
Sorry, man.
Meanie.
Felt like cleaning up it, right?
Again.
Oh, no, I didn't hear a hit.
1 minute. 1 minute remaining. 1 minute.
Hit in the face.
26. Friendly. There's a shadow there, someone coming through.
Someone there in the door.
It's all good. Good shot, man.
Okay, so if you've gotten this far in the video and you like what you see but you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell and hit that like button while you're down there, because doing all that really does help this channel out a huge amount and you really do help me feed my family. So I much appreciate it if you could just do that. Okay, so we've gotten to that point in the video. You've seen this thing shoot, you've seen the internals, you've had the overview, but what does it all mean? It's time to put it all together and basically put it against the three most important pillars of any fair and honest airsoft review. And that is build quality, that is performance, and that is support. Okay guys, so starting with build quality. This is phenomenal. Second to none when it comes to VFC and what they have done. It's brilliant. The amount of steel on this is phenomenal. It's going to be keeping those hardcore fans out there happy and keep shooting for a long, long time. What they did design-wise has been amazing as well, with the vent holes on the bolt carrier and on the actual buffer tube now doing something and not just a little, how would you say, simulation, but actually having a purpose now, and that is brilliant. The new BCG itself is just amazing. I do like the new cam pin design. That really does work. It is compatible with the older ones, but it won't run properly. I've noticed a few running issues with the older bolt carriers, so just bear that one in mind. And then you've got the new hop chamber, the brand new hop chamber, taking inspiration from GHK and pretty much copying it, just changing the materials used, and that is phenomenal. But I will say, those two tiny grub screws holding everything in place does kind of hold it, in my sort of opinion, as a bit of a dubious question. We are going to have to find that out in another few months when there's been millions of you guys out there having it, and myself putting even more rounds through it. It's currently got 2,500 rounds on my range as of recording this video, and I really do love this GBBR. It's never missed a heartbeat. Speaking of, let's move to performance.
Performance-wise, sub 2-inch grouping with the stock actual booking, stock in a barrel, you can't complain. That is absolutely awesome for a standard AR-15. Yeah. Now, for me, I'm really happy with the performance and everything that has been done on this. For the overall, it's really efficient. 3 full magazines of BBs. It's very consistent. The rate of fire is way more consistent before, with very, very minute stuttering here and there. Again, magazine dependent and temperature dependent, which is awesome. At 317 FPS for its first 2 shots, and then dropping to 306 consistently has been phenomenal. That is just really good, and I'm happy I don't have to install that MPAS. I can use it on something else, which is coming, wink wink. Now, that's really good. I'm really happy with that, especially if I'm using CQB. If you aren't and you want a more higher FPS, then again, you could put the MPAS in and crank it open all the way and run it that way. It's up to you. Or tighten the actual in a barrel and get a tight bore in there. That's going to increase your FPS. There's a lot of things you could do to make this run. And because this has a lot of steel in its fire control group, I don't feel bad about using the higher powered gases on this now. It will run it a little bit better. Although the magazines, seals and so on, I'm not sure if they'll handle all the higher pressures, but we'll see. Again, only time will tell when it comes to that. And that leads us finally to support. Because what good is an awesome GBBR if you can't buy the parts? VFC did a smart move. Just like they did with their V2 to V3, they kept a lot of their older parts, commonality and so on together, and the V1 to the V2. They've done exactly that with their V3 to the EVO or V4. You have V3 magazines, you have V3 fire control group, you have a new hop, yes, but it still uses standard GBBR in a barrels and bookings. You do have a V2/V3 heavy buffer in there, so that's great. These are all parts that you can easily find from VFC, and it'll keep your GBBR running for a long time. And of course, VFC being VFC, there will be more parts later on down the line. So that's good. I'm really happy with what they've done in that respect. You do have a lot of support in that respect for a first new startup. That's great. Good on you, VFC. So what does all that mean? Well, this is amazing, but these are my thoughts on it. This retails here in the UK for around $720 at the cheapest to $750 at the more expensive end. That puts it bang on the exact same price as GHK, its hardcore competition. But here's the funny thing. When you compare it to a GHK uses a single piece steel outer barrel, like we saw with my HK416, the latest system to have it. Brilliant, single piece and steel. Not aluminium, but steel. They do not require a specific tool to remove it. You could easily do it with your standard armorer's wrench. That's awesome. It's a QD handguard, and even the standard handguard would undo with a, a screwdriver or a socket wrench, and away you go. It's very easy, and it's common stuff that people have. It doesn't require a proprietary RX6 tool to actually remove the RX6 handguard. There's one question. Of course, being steel, it means you can put whatever on there and you can clamp it down and know that you're not going to twist the barrel or bend it out of shape for the most part. It's going to stand up to a lot more abuse. The fire control group on both are steel. There is no difference there. And of course, when it comes to the hop chamber, VFC have taken very much the inspiration to that hop. But because they did that, and they made it out of metal, they didn't include the tool. Whereas GHK does, they include the tool out of the box. You get it right there in the box itself, so you can adjust it day one. You're not having to suddenly go, oh, I need a tool, and make an order and spend a lot more money. Bring in that 720 to 750 pounds up even closer to 800. Add the tool, the barrel tool on there, you're going to be well over 800 pounds for those parts on top of the rifle itself as a whole set. And that to me is starting to put it more expensive than GHK, and they used to be known as the premium brand at the premium price. So again, I know I like harping on about it and that, but that tool should have been included in the box. It's just a bunch of plastic and aluminium and a bit of steel. It's the exact same thing that GHK did with theirs, a steel bit with polymer and so on. So again, they should have done that. Now, on top of that, when you look at everything else, they give you a BCG that has the ability to put a heavy weight in there, but they don't supply it. They've not gotten that far, which kind of feels like they rushed this system out to market. That's kind of bad because GHK do supply you the heavy recoil kit with a heavy spring and a heavy weight so you can run CO2 mags. Again, these are just things that are given by the competition at the exact same price as what the stock rifle of this is here in the UK. So when you compare it to the competition, it's no longer a, I would say, easy VFC pick. I would definitely go more GHK in that respect for what they give you. And I wouldn't blame anyone doing that. So as a KS1 or an L403A1, is it actually good? Well, yes. Again, it is on par, equal now, step for step, toe for toe with GHK. And so therefore, this thing really does kick hard, it does shoot well, and like I say, it's been consistent and accurate to a T. That to me is absolutely the most important thing when you're going for a GBBR. You want it to be accurate, you want it to be reliable, you want it to be consistent, and this is all those. So it means that, yeah, if you're after a KS1, this is the best one to go for. I wouldn't buy the MWS kit because that is just, in my opinion, a waste of money because you're spending well over $1,000 for the kit. Then you need a donor rifle to install parts from. And then eventually you've got to buy all the optics, which you see here. I fitted it with a correct-ish, let's say clone accurate LVPO and the acro on the top because that's how the British Armed Forces use it. And so just buying the optic is a couple of £100 on its own, etc. So you start looking at things like that. It does get expensive, and buying an MWS kit is not worth it anymore, unless you really need it. But for me, buy the VFC one. It is absolutely amazing out the box. And like I say, it's right on the maximum limit of what I would say the price point should be of a premium GBBR. Any more than that now, then it's no longer a good deal in, I would say, airsoft. But right now, we are at that limit. And VFC, good on you. You've learned, you've made adjustments, you've basically done the right thing and improved your system. And that's awesome. And I can't wait to compare this with the GHK side by side on the field. If you want to see that, subscribe down below and let me know in the comments. Let me know what you want to see me do with this, and I'll see what I can do going forward if you want little shots or if there's something I missed. So with that, let me know in the comments down below. Once again, a huge thank you for all your nice, caring comments. I really do appreciate you guys. And as always, I've been Andy, the middle-aged gamer. You guys have been absolutely amazing. I'll see you in the next video.